Again, sorry for the delay. It is 7:02 on May 17th, and we will call this meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie City Commission to order. If we could have a roll call, please.
Mayor Gary,
Here.
Commissioner Bauer, Commissioner Bosphus-Rath,
Here.
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Talentino,
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Here.
Commissioner Miller should be on his way. Commissioner Bauer did phone and say he wasn't able to make this meeting this evening. So if we could get a motion to excuse Commissioner Bauer, please.
Make a motion to excuse Commissioner Bauer.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Commissioner Bauer is excused. So if we could please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would please mute their microphones, and I will stand in for Commissioner Miller. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Number 4 is mayor comments and general announcements. We have quite a long agenda, so I'm going to spare you any long mayor comments at the beginning of the meeting, at least. Number 5 is declaration of location. I am here in Chippewa County, Michigan. Commissioner Bosphus-Rath.
Chippewa County, Michigan.
Commissioner Collins.
Chippewa County, Michigan.
Commissioner Talentino.
Chippewa County, Michigan.
And Commissioner Twardy.
Chippewa County, Michigan.
Thank you very much. Proclamations and recognitions, we have none this evening. Item C is public comment. Is there anybody online that would like to reserve time to speak to any of the agenda items that we have this evening? We have a couple of public hearings that you do not have to reserve time in advance, but any of the other agenda items, if you'd like to speak to them. So anybody in the audience that would like to speak on any of the agenda items this evening, if you could just unmute your microphone and give us your name and residence, we'll reserve that time for you.
Hi, this is Josh Billington. I have a public comment for I.
All right. Oh, on the very end?
Matters
Josh.
presented by the public. Just, yeah.
All right. If you can hang in there, it might be about 10 o'clock, but
Sounds good. Thank you.
we will. Yeah, thanks, Josh. All right, item D is the consent agenda. Deputy City Manager Robin Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the consent agenda, 1, approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2021. Item 2, acceptance of the Airport Authority Board meeting minutes of April 8th, 2021. Item 3, acceptance of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting minutes of March 9th, 2021. Item 4, acceptance of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting minutes of April 13th, 2021. Item 5, acceptance of the Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes of April 14th, 2021. Item 6, acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation meeting minutes of March 9th, 2021. Item 7, acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation meeting minutes of April 13th, 2021. Item 8, acceptance of the Sault Ste. Marie Housing Commission meeting minutes of March 18th, 2021. Item 9, acceptance of the Tax Increment Authority Unit 3 meeting minutes of October 13th, 2020. Item 10, acceptance of the tax increment authority unit 3 meeting minutes of April 13th, 2021. Item 11 is acceptance of the zoning board of appeals meeting minutes of April 15th, 2021. Item 12 is authorize the purchase of generic time from Michigan Municipal Employees Retirement System by Kirk Tews. Item 13 is approval of a resolution for the Michigan Lottery recognizing Club of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan Foundation, the Rotary Club, as a nonprofit organization for the purpose of obtaining a charitable gaming license. Item 14 is approval of Michigan Liquor Control Commission local government resolution for Lake Superior State University. And item 15 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager Troyer. Would any commissioner like any item further explained or removed from the consent agenda for individual consideration? Seeing none, Commissioner Twardy.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosphus Raff,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Miller. Did Commissioner Miller come on? No? Okay. Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. City Manager, did you hear from Commissioner Miller? Is he going to make it up or we don't know?
I sent him a text that the back door is propped open for him. I have not heard anything else, so
Okay.
I'm assuming he's on his way, but I can't confirm or deny that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item E is special orders of business. Number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first tonight is a public hearing and consideration for an OPRA request for 824 Ashman. OPRA stands for the Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act, which is essentially an economic development tool that helps spur the redevelopment of certain downtown buildings. This particular request is coming from the owner of the building for 824 Ashman. They are looking for a 12-year tax freeze on essentially what is the rate of inflation increase. Typically, depending on the level of investment, a property owner would freeze the tax prior to an investment in the case that the taxable value would go up. That gives them a window of time where they could pay off any kind of construction loans or whatever they may have. This particular case, the investment, while significant, isn't significant enough to increase the taxable value. So the developer is looking for a freeze basically on the rate of inflation for 12 years. There is a calculation there for all taxes included. I think it's a little over $3,000. This is part of a bigger picture for the developer. He is seeking out a CRP grant through the MEDC that will help pay for a significant portion of his redevelopment costs. Mr. Knapper is here with us tonight. He's got a little PowerPoint we can run through. I don't know if you want to do that first, the public hearing, Mr. Mayor, your call.
Let's run through the PowerPoint first.
All right, Mr. Knapper, I'll run it over here.
Thank you, City Manager. You'd like me to talk while you move the slides?
Yeah, just tell me when to move them.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll take just a little bit of time. Very good to see you, Mr. Mayor, and the city commissioners. This, as the city manager said, is not as big of a project as maybe some are, but for myself and my wife, being our first development project is pretty big for us and pretty scary for us, and we're definitely learning a lot. As many of you know, I worked with the Downtown Development Authority for a number of years and spent a lot of time encouraging people to fix up their buildings, and I have a newfound appreciation for our local banks for our local contractors, even more so than before, now that I know how much risk is involved to fix up some of these old buildings. And definitely very thankful for the time that the city manager spent with me, as well as the DDA director, Kayla Nicholson, on thinking about this project and coming up with different creative ways to help us get it done. So we're looking at about a $350,000 investment. And I just wanted to show a few quick before and afters to give you guys an idea of the scope. So right now, the front, as you can see on the left, is pretty severely messed up in terms of the masonry. There was a picture window installed poorly years ago. The upstairs apartments were remodeled in 1938. I found out from a newspaper article from the Historical Society. Haven't been touched since, and they haven't been lived in since the early 1990s. And the downstairs was the Checkered Flag Party Store for about 25 years and was only about partially kind of built out. So we fully removed all the old party store stuff and have it down to where contractors can properly bid on everything from electrical, plumbing, heating, utilities. We have to rebuild all the floor joists, roof rafters, ceiling joists, basement structural has to be done. I'm working with the building department, UP engineers on that currently. And you can see on the right, the colors aren't finalized. They're just kind of placeholder colors, but the 4 windows will go up to the original arches. We're replacing some really kind of tricky black glass that is shown there. And you can go to the second slide. The back also is in our plan. The rear of the building borders Brown Street, which is pretty rough in terms of both parking as well as visually. And so we found out that there was an addition, a small addition built on the building that actually hides a very attractive rear entry that I think the original building was built as a hardware store in 1908, or it was a hardware store soon after it was built. And so it has this really cool arched window and double kind of freight doors. We're going to try to put those back and gain a couple parking spaces as well by removing that, the back addition, as well as a spot for a shared dumpster with our neighbor. And then you can go to the next slide. The inside, you can see on the left, was the Checkered Flag Party Store with like a drop ceiling and a false wall just a few feet back, about 25 feet back out of 100 feet. The inside, the second picture doesn't really show much in terms of the finish, but you can see it was to show kind of the structural work that we have to do to put in new braces all the way down to the basement. And also windows on the north wall facing over the All-Star Graphics building. I'm not sure if I have any other slides. Is there one more? Yep, and then just a quick, just for you guys to see the current interior, each apartment, bathroom and kitchen look currently like the left there, where there's the little old kind of farmhouse sink. We're going to try to keep kind of that, I don't know what you call it, 1930s charm, or bring it back if we can, and have kind of a little storyboard showing some different kind of Pinteresty pictures of what it might look like when it's done. So a lot of work. We are really working right now on getting our financing in place. And as the city manager said, we're trying to secure a state community revitalization grant that would help cover some of the cost of rehab. And the Obsolete Property Rehab Act can serve in part as a local match for the state to consider our project. So really, really appreciate you guys looking at this project and helping us out and helping South Ashman continue to improve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin. Nice pictures. Thanks for your investment downtown. We will now move to a public hearing on consideration of an OPRA request for 824 Ashman. And again, OPRA is the Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act. So does anybody have any questions or comments in our public hearing in consideration of this OPRA?
Hi, this is Dana Sanderson. I would like to make a comment, if that would be okay.
Sure, Dana.
Okay.
Welcome.
So I just wanted to say that, I've been aware of Justin's project for quite a while, and Justin was extremely supportive of Terry and I during the 4 different rehabilitation projects that we undertook downtown. And I think that I, of course, am very supportive of any downtown development project, but I feel like the rehabilitation of the historic buildings continues to be incredibly important. And this is a pretty simple thing for the city to do to support someone who's willing to invest, well over a $250,000 in a downtown building, and to take one of our worst looking buildings and make it into a very functional and attractive building. So I just wanted to express my support and hope that the city, all of you, the city leaders, will support Justin and Karen Nepper in this effort.
Thanks, Dana. Good comments.
Thanks, Don.
Yep. Anybody else that would like to make any comments in the public hearing for consideration of the Oprah request for 824 Ashman?
May I make one more comment? This is Justin.
Sure.
I just wanted to give a shameless plug to Neil Henney. He did the design work for me, and he used to be a city engineering department intern back in 2011. It was one of the first people I ever met, and now he has a little company down by in Detour, and he's doing great work. So just wanted to tell him thanks for, if he's listening, for all the work he did for it.
Thanks, Justin. That's a neat factoid for sure. Anybody else that would like to make a comment at the public hearing? Okay, we will now close the public hearing and go to the city commission. Anybody have any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Twardy.
Yeah,
Either
just
you
some
froze or I froze.
Yeah. Just some comments. I appreciate anybody who's willing to invest, especially invest in one of the historical buildings downtown. And I completely agree with what Dana has said. And us being small business owners ourselves, I mean, the banks do take huge risks on us. And we appreciate the fact that they are willing to do that. So I'm excited to see this old building come back to life. And I'm excited that we're going to have more people living in our downtown area, and hoping that that you rent them out as quickly as the Kalias did. And I'm sure that you're going to do great, Justin and Karen, because it takes, the partnership of the relationship to be able to move forward in projects like this. And it's not easy, but it always pays off in the end because you're so proud of what you've done. So great job. I'm in support.
Okay, great comments. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Commissioner Bosbus-Rath, would you like to make the motion?
Absolutely. Motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Support.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bosbus-Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
and I assume Commissioner Miller is still not present.
Still not present.
Doesn't look like he's here. So motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Thanks, Justin, for your presentation and your investment. And thank you, everybody else, for your comments. And thanks, Dana, for your investment in 4 buildings downtown. That's awesome. A lot of changes, and it looks great. E, special orders of business, number 2, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next is a series of resolutions that kind of wrap up the budget process for us here. This first one is the final resolution of general appropriations for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. As depicted in the resolution, you see a breakdown of all the various revenues and expenses for the city budget. We would look for a motion to approve it, but prior to that, we do need to hold a public hearing. So I will turn it back to you.
Very much, City Manager. So we will open up a public hearing on the final resolution of the general appropriations for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. So anybody that would like to make any comments, please state your name and where you live for the record, please. So opening up the public hearing on the general appropriation budget. Any questions or comments? So right now we are in a public hearing for the 2021-22 fiscal year general appropriation budget. Any comments from the general public? All right, seeing none, we will go close the public hearing on the final resolution of the general appropriations for the 2021-22 fiscal year. And we'll go to the city commission. Commissioner Collins, any questions or comments?
Please, where are we with the extra fire department individual? Did we do anything with that?
No, there was no motion or discussion really on that one. So if you wanted to have some discussion on that, we could do that tonight. Included in the budget are still some staff freezes throughout the organization. 3 open spots, soon to be 3 open spots in the fire department. Some positions in the police department, a couple in the DPW. Yeah, so there was no discussion on those, but if you would like to have a discussion on that, we can certainly do that now.
Yeah, I'd like to have some discussion on it. Basically, the way that I understand it is that if we don't have at least one more individual hired, then when they go out on a call, the way that they have it set up, if they don't know what they're supposed to bring ahead of time, all the trucks roll. And in that case, the last thing that rolls out is the ladder truck. So basically what you have is a brand new ladder truck that we just bought that nobody's able to drive. And then the second issue is that our insurance rating will go down, which means that everybody's basically costs on their homeowner's insurance to live inside the city is going to go up if we don't hire that other individual. That's my understanding of basically the issues that we have. And then, but the most important is the whole safety of them rolling out. If we have one guy at the station and 4 guys out, that puts 2 guys in the fire, 2 guys outside, but they have to have somebody to actually oversee the operation, which means they have to wait for a volunteer to show up. So to me, it's very important to make sure that our firefighters are protected, and we need to add that back into the budget somehow.
And just real quick on that, it's not necessarily just one position, it's one position per shift. So that one extra person would only fill 1 shift. You'd still have 2 shifts that are down. That's kind of the difficult spot with this particular item. The 3 entry-level firefighter positions, which spend a lot of time on the ambulance and working on the fire crews, is roughly about $219,000. So it's, you know, it's not necessarily one person to fill all those spots. It would be 3, 1 per shift.
Right, but let's take a look at the example that happened 2 Saturdays ago, where you had 2 individuals that literally were off. They couldn't come in because they were taking care of their children. The fire chief had to come in on a Saturday, which left 5 guys at the station. So if there was actually a fire in that situation, you only got 4 guys to roll, right? So in that situation, 2 guys go in, 2 guys are on the outside, but you still have to wait for a volunteer to show up to supervise the operation because you have to leave somebody at the station. So, I mean, to me, it's a scary situation we're in. I mean, even when you look at the police department and the DPW, you know, in that case, you're not really looking at people's lives being at risk. So,
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to vote for this or approve this until we do something with that. We got to figure something out. That's my part of the discussion.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Miller's not here. Commissioner Talentino, any questions or comments?
No, I think I'm all set on this one, Your Honor. I mean, it's a really crappy situation that we're in, and it's not like it's just one individual, it's three. You know, everybody, we had to trim the fat all over. I understand your comments, Commissioner Collins, but I'm all set on this. I'm good. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Twardy?
Yeah, I'm concerned about this also. I got emotional at the last meeting because I worked EMS, and I don't want to see us down by 3 firefighters. I mean, 2 of the positions have been open for a while. I know they're hard to fill. And I want to take a look, like, I kind of like to think that the budget is like a moving fluid thing. And we've been talking about this for years now. And if we do think down the road that it's compromising our community and it's compromising our firemen, I think that we should take a look at it and bring it up at that point. But we are in a crappy situation, and I blame the state for it. And, you know, but we don't have an additional $220,000 in our budget to add those 3 extra firemen back in at this moment. So I guess we're going to have to kind of roll with it at the moment, and, you know, and then continue to ask the city manager and potentially the fire chief to give us updates on how things are going. And maybe that's the way that we should take a look at it at the moment. But I am definitely concerned, Greg, and I agree with you. But I just don't see how we just don't have the money right now. And again, I go back, I blame the state. I blame our state legislature, and I blame the crappy situation. Oops, I almost had a bad word. The crappy situation that we're in. So, but I think at the moment, we're just going to kind of have to go with it and get constant updates.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Bosbus-Rath, any questions or comments?
Yeah, just one comment. I do agree with Commissioner Twardy and Commissioner Talentino. I think we all know what we're facing and that it's not easy, but I think the city's done a pretty good job at taking what we can. And like Commissioner Twardy said, it is kind of a working document. So hopefully, you know, down the road, we can add those positions in, but I just think at this time, it's not the best option. So that's all.
Thanks, Commissioner. I just have a couple comments on the process itself, and I know we talk about this every year, but it's long, it's intense, and it's comprehensive. The process includes input from every administrator, all the department heads, and certainly all of the staff within the city. It balances the total operation of the city and every component unit of the government. It takes into account any statutory requirements, any commission imposed requirements, any contracts and bargaining unit requirements, any hiring requirements, and planning necessary for sustainability and growth of the city of Sault Ste. Marie. This year we have projects online that have been in the hopper for many years. And it is an environment of extraordinary material and labor cost increases. So we've had to cover some of the costs from the general fund and go forward. Our income, as we all know, and we've talked about so many times during this budget process, has challenges from slower tax revenue growth. It has a loss from the dark stores like Meijer and Walmart not paying their fair share. If we had one of those stores which paid the full tax rate and didn't fight us in court, we would more than sufficiently have enough money to pay for 3 more firefighters. That is the impact of those stores. We have decreased fees this year because of COVID, and we have revenue sharing slowed growth. And as city manager mentioned, we have a lot of retirements that are costly this year only. So this is an extraordinary year for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. The budget for 2021 was difficult, and I know that Brian and Robin and Kristen have toiled over this a lot and worked with all the department heads. This year, their mandate from us, of course, was and the responsibility to the city residents is to get the parks open, get the restrooms open, get the projects, the capital projects going forward and invest in the city of Sault Ste. Marie's future. We also need to keep residents public safety through police, fire, and ambulance services. And I agree. I wish we could fully staff the open positions that we could not hire over the last 8 or 9 months. And I think if you look at the year 2 budget, there's a little bit of hopefulness in that because some of these one-time expenses won't be there. And we're certainly hoping that some other things may come through. And as Commissioner Twardy said, the budget, there might be some revenue sources that we aren't seeing this year that we might get next year in recovery dollars or some other area. Many departments have been impacted, not just fire, the police department, the DPW, and there have been funding level reductions, personnel changes, and responsibility changes throughout the organization. Changes are very difficult, and we do appreciate and respect everybody's service to the community. And you are all public servants, and certainly we as elected officials are public servants, and we will continue forward in full service. And I don't take lightly, Commissioner Collins' concerns. I think that city manager sent us out a pretty interesting info chart on Sault Ste. Marie Fire Department, fire and EMS run statistics. And we are definitely a paramedic service with the benefit of a fire department since we had 14 structure fires in 2020. So, we certainly rely on the paramedic service for helping to keep our police fire department alive. I know a lot of other communities that I work with during the day in my other job are public safety, where they have a merged police and fire department. That's something we talked about years ago, but it does take a lot of money to get into that, and there's a lot of training issues and different learning curves. But there are other cities our size that don't have a full-time fire department either. So I do feel that we're blessed and able to have the department that we have, and certainly we will. I'm sure Brian and staff will look in every corner to find every dollar that we can to make sure that if we can get back to some type of better staffing level. But I think everybody took a little hit this year, but we'll be stronger and better going forward. And I think that the administration has focused on making sure that essential services within the city are taken care of so that most residents won't see any impact at all. So, and those are the extent of my comments. I don't know if city manager, did you have any other comments in regard to the staffing or any of the budgetary issues? I think we've gone through these a lot. We've had work sessions where we were to bring any issues forward, and I think that we really didn't have any. We didn't want to put any extra burden on this year in this busy year and tough year. So,
No, it is a tough situation to be in, but we are filling the areas that we need to get done on the projects that we have going on. So, I mean, it's tough, but we do look forward to the next fiscal year, and we will continue to watch it to see if we can bring some staff back. But yeah, it's not an easy budget. It wasn't easy last year, and it wasn't easy this year. Commissioner Collins has something, Mr. Mayor.
all right, thank you very much. Anybody else have any? All right, Commissioner Collins. Okay, I saw that one.
You're on
Mr.
mute,
Collins.
Greg.
There we go. Sorry, too many screens going. Yeah, I know that when we had the budget meetings, we basically brought issues and so forth that we wanted to talk about. Obviously, we didn't know about this issue until the last meeting when it was brought to our attention. I'm going to vote no, but I don't want to, just because of the fact that I know all the hard work that went in with the administration, and I don't want that to look as a negative towards them. Can we do something to where we say, all right, we're going to look at the fire department within the next quarter, like actually put it on a agenda item to say, where we at? Because one of the concerns that I've heard too is that with the staff that you have there, that they're concerned that they're going to get burned out because of the amount of overtime that they're going to have to take in order to cover. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Chief Labonte and I can, what was that? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Chief Labonte and I can do a quarterly update for the commission. It doesn't necessarily have to be an agenda item, but I can put it in my updates and we can kind of plan for that and we'll roll with it and just bring updates about the runs they've gone on, any kind of staffing level issues, such as the one you referenced 2 weeks ago. You know, we can bring together a decent quarterly report for the commission. And if the commission at that time, you know, doesn't feel that it's currently palatable, then at that time we can make a budget adjustment based on a motion and direction from the commission, if that's the way you choose to go.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Valentino would like to make the motion. Whoops, sorry.
Yep, that's fine. Yeah, I'd love to do that, Your
Did I
Honor.
speak over?
I mean, yeah, me. I'd like a motion to adopt the included final resolution of the general appropriation for the 2020-2021 fiscal year with details by funding as provided in the resolution.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any questions or comments before we have a roll call vote? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
There you go.
Commissioner Tuarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baspis Rath,
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you very much. Item E, special orders of business, E3, city manager.
Just a quick point of business, Mr. Mayor. I got a text from Commissioner Miller. I don't believe he's going to be here.
All right, thank you very much. Can we get a motion to can I go ahead and put a motion to excuse in the middle there, Robin?
yep, I'll add it on.
Okay,
I'll make a,
did we get a motion to excuse Commissioner Miller? Been moved and I think supported. All in favor, say
Support.
aye.
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 Thank you very much. Thank you, city manager, for letting us know.
Did you get that, Robin?
Item 3.
Yes,
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next is a public hearing and consideration for the final resolution for the water and sewer rates for the fiscal year 2021 and 2022. Included in the agenda item are 2 sheets which depict the rates. Currently, the average water user is expected to go about 4.57%. The current one, or the current rates for this year would be about $118 for somebody who uses 700 cubic feet. It would be expected to go up to about $123 for next year. So this funds a lot of our capital projects, including some of the meter upgrades that we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the meeting. So we would open up the public hearing and look for a motion to support the resolution.
Thank you, city manager. We will now open the public hearing on the final resolution of water and sewer rates for the 2021-22 fiscal year. Does anybody have any questions or comments in regard to the water rates? So again, we're in public hearing for water and sewer rates for 2021-2022 fiscal year. Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, we will now close the public hearing for the water and sewer rates for 2021-22 fiscal year. Any questions or comments from the city commission? And would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, I can do it.
Commissioner
okay with that,
Collins,
Mr. Mayor?
thanks.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Motion to-
Thank you.
Motion to adopt the resolution of water and sewer rates for 2021-22 fiscal year with detailed rates as provided within the resolution.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baspis Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Item E4, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a public hearing and request to approve the final resolution for the purpose of establishing the 2020 tax levy for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. I actually think it's supposed to be 2021. I'm sorry about that. Included in the resolution is the approval for the millage rates for the city. General operations is capped at 16.8139 mils. Where'd it go? Where's the other one? I lost it. The police and fire retirement millage is anticipated to go up. We were recommending it go up by roughly 0.0373 mils, which would go to 6.2185. The overall increase in the tax rates on a house with a market value of about $100,000 is just a couple dollars. So not a big rate or tax increase for the citizens, as one can't go up. So we would look for the public hearing and motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you, City Manager. We will now open the public hearing on the final resolution for the purposes of establishing the 2021 tax levy for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments? Again, this is a public hearing for establishing the 2020 tax levy for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Seeing no public comments, we'll go to the city commission. Any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Tuorty, would you like to make the motion? You're kind of frozen there, I think.
Yeah, I am. Everything's frozen,
Yeah.
but I will make the
We can hear you.
motion to approve the final resolution for establishing the 2021 tax levy for the city of Sault Ste. Marie.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Tuorty,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baspis Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to F, communications. Number one, City Manager Chapman, if you want to introduce it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received an email from Commissioner Baspis Rath to discuss some of her concerns regarding rats within the city.
Hello. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring this up, and I know that we're all aware of it, but I wanted our constituents to know that we're aware of it. And there was a recent post on a social media outlet, and I've gotten a few calls from some constituents that had some concerns of some rats that they've had either at their house or by their home, or that they've seen. And so I have talked to City Manager Chapman a few times about it, so I didn't know if he wanted to kind of talk about it as well. But, you know, basically it's, if they don't have a water source, a food source, or shelter, then they will go somewhere else. But if anybody else wants to chime in, you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is, right?
So we did a little bit of research. This is a topic that I'm not necessarily exposed to in terms of my former city, so something new to kind of do some research on. The biggest culprit for rats and kind of pushing them around the city is the sanitary conditions of residential or even commercial or industrial dwellings. They, for the most part, are preventable in terms of getting into your house. But there is a population that live kind of underground in the tunnels. There's a couple of different theories on why we're starting to see more in the last couple of years. Part of that is the high water from the last couple of years has now gone down. Part of it is the start of some major construction work along the power canal, and then now going through all of our projects downtown. So there's been a little bit of shake of activity that's kind of forced them up above ground, but really they're animals, so they're looking for food, shelter, and water. And unfortunately, we have a ton of water, but there are ways to prevent them from getting into your house as shelter, and there are means of reducing their available food. Dog food and dog feces, from what I understand, is one of their Thanksgiving dinners kind of meals. It's their favorite thing. So encouraging residents to clean up after themselves, clean up after their dogs, minimizing any kind of small holes in your structure would keep them from getting into your house. But we have a couple of just natural features that are kind of against us. They live in fields and wooded areas, which we have quite a bit of. And then again, the access of water within our community. So, the best way to deal with rats is really to be proactive on your own property and to try to minimize anything that would encourage them. If they do come above surface, or if they're already at your neighbor's house, there's a couple activities you can do to keep them there and out of your house. If somebody does have a current rat infestation or rat problem, it is best to reach out to the professionals. I know there's a few in the area. You're starting to talk about rat traps and poisons and all that stuff. So it's best to consult with a professional on those type of matters. In terms of what cities do and what they can do, a lot of it is just a marketing campaign, just reminding people that this is the type of environment they're looking for. You can take approaches to minimize them, and we all should chip in and clean up after our dogs. So it's a lot of marketing campaigns that the other cities do. It's a tough issue to try to just grab a hold by the city. You don't know the size of the problem. You don't necessarily know where they're at. So it's a tough one to really tackle. We did talk with the health department, and there's not a lot of resources there. They're just not really set up to deal with something like that. Much larger health departments do have those resources, but we just don't have them in our health department. So that kind of summarizes my research on the matter.
Thank you. So that's kind of it.
Any other comments?
Well,
All right. Any other commissioners have any comments? Commissioner Tuarty.
I wasn't sure if you could see my finger. Yeah, we have had a problem, and I think we're a really old community. And in fact, the area that I live on the island, and there's a lot of extremely old homes. We're all surrounded by water. The yards are very small. So we are just taking the approach that we're going to get hold of an exterminator. In fact, after we saw that post on social media and we were kind of going back and forth, do we put it on the agenda as a commission to talk about it? I'm not kidding you. The next day, the exterminator called my husband out of the blue. And it's $150 annually. They'll come out and they'll make sure if you have any, well, first of all, if you have any rodents living in your dwelling at all, if you have rats or mice, and they'll look for any crevices in which they can get into your house. Because, like my house was built in the 1800s, and so it's shifted and it's moved, and there's cracks by the foundation. And so he filled a lot of those in. And then he does lay down rat poison. We have a very tiny dog that doesn't go in several areas of the house, like including the attic and the basement. And so I think for $150, the fact that we're able to keep our pets safe and keep our family safe and hopefully keep them moving on, maybe even kill a few, it's what we would like to do. But it's an old community with a lot of water. And so we all sort of have to just chip in, take care of our own properties, and, hopefully we can kind of keep it at bay and not make it any worse.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other commissioners have any comments or questions? City Manager?
No, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much for bringing that forward, Commissioner Bosbus Rath. And I think the plan is that we need to put out some communication pieces, and people need to be responsible for their own houses, their own yards, pick up their dog feces, and make sure there's no loose garbage. And a lot of construction going on in town at the locks, at the power canal, up on the spur and downtown. So their homes will be disrupted a little bit. So please clean up and make sure that you keep your house safe. So moving
Thank you.
along, under F, communications, number 2, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for the commission is a brief introduction of a brownfield plan for the David Apartments project. For those of you not familiar with the name, that is the area up by the EDC that the city sold a meeting or two ago to the Arbricks for their apartment development. With us tonight is Mac McClelland, who is the consultant for the Arbricks on this particular project. There is no action item on this item tonight. It's just an information topic for you all to learn a little more about the project. There is still some legwork that staff and I have to do with Mac and the Arbricks to kind of better understand the needs of the project from the city. So with that, I will turn it over to Mac.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening, Matt.
I will say in 30 years of public meetings, it's the first time I've followed a RAD agenda item. So it's an honor. Thank you. I don't know if there's a correlation here. We'll see. But thank you. As Brian said, I'm working with Dan Arbick and their partners to look at the redevelopment of the lots at the airport 17, 18, 19, 21, and 22, as you're well aware. Looking to develop a number of units, a total of 84 units on the site. And as you are aware, there also are some challenges to that site in terms of the remaining concrete that's on the site, as well as some opportunities for infrastructure development, the extension of 14th Street along that area. And we wanted to introduce the potential for a brownfield plan to help reimburse some of those costs that are there. We did check in with the state of Michigan. Unfortunately, the MEDC does not believe that this is a viable project that fits their state goals. They're heavily focused on downtown redevelopment and believe that this is out of the area of their interest, even though it hits a statewide problem of the missing middle housing, and will add a substantial opportunity for that additional housing that's there. Kind of outlined is a quick assessment. As Brian said, we're still working kind of through the numbers, working through this as well. This was presented to the Brownfield Authority and the TIFA 3 board on May 11th, and they supported the concept and recommended proceeding with the Brownfield plan. As noted there, the TIFA board would be the one who would be foregoing taxes in this situation to reimburse these costs. I'll say that much of the allocation of the dollars would be things that might be appropriate for the TIFA board to consider anyway, in terms of removing obstacles on the site and the redevelopment of that site. I have spoken with Dan, and there is a interest in, and I know this is a concern of the city, an interest in financing the improvements to 14th Street if they can seek reimbursement. So it would not be a capital improvement requirement for the city, and I know that's a significant issue for the city as well to do that. So we provide that opportunity for improvement with that reimbursement. We wanted to share the concept with the City Commission. Again, these dollars would normally go towards the TIFA board. If we move forward with the brownfield plan, the TIFA board would need to execute an interlocal agreement that would forego the taxes for reimbursement for these brownfield eligible activities. And along with the Brownfield Authority approving the Brownfield Plan and the City Commission after a public hearing considering the Brownfield Plan as well. So I think the summary hopefully provided some background information there. I won't go through it. I know you have a long meeting, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Our intent here tonight is to really get feedback from you, what questions we need to address and prepare in terms of preparing the brownfield plan for consideration. So I'm happy, and I know Jeff is on the line. He can make any comments that he wishes, but happy to answer any questions or discuss any items that the commission may have.
Thank you very much, Mac. Those are certainly complex financing arrangements, and we're certainly excited about it. So commissioners, any questions for Mac or Jeff or Brian or anybody online? Commissioners? You touched on the roadway a little bit, and I think that's going to be a prohibitive cost for the city. How do you see that working out, the reconstruction?
Yeah, the city engineers got pretty excited when they saw that. Wait a minute. It's not in the capital improvement plan, but the idea would be that that the developers would finance that as part of their overall project costs. We still need to kind of work those details through, but they would finance the upfront according to city standards. Would be a city road, meet those specifications, inspections, and then turn that over to the city as a city road for the extension of 14th Street. So we would be financed by the developers and then reimbursed through the tax capture.
Somebody liked it.
That. I took care of that. Some people get excited about roads.
Yeah.
So do I.
That's certainly an interesting concept. We look forward to further discussions. So anybody else have any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Jeff, anything from you?
I was just going to say, we'll continue to work with staff and kind of hone down some of the numbers and get some of the research completed as well, if that's a concept worth considering, and continue to work over the next month or two to pull that together and bring it back for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Mac. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Jeff, any comments from
I'm all set, thank you.
Kind of frozen. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to G, business items. Number 1, city manager.
Oh, you want to do a stretch first? This is a record for us. We're going into 8 o'clock. And we're just getting into the business items. All right.
Keep rolling.
Right, what's that? We're rolling. All right, Mr.
Keep
Mayor.
rolling.
Up next is a presentation.
Bedtime, he said.
Up next is a presentation from our water superintendent, Kirk Tews. We got a PowerPoint here with some information we want to go over with you. This is a large project that we want to undertake, essentially replacing our entire water meter system and infrastructure to a more state-of-the-art, call it the Cadillac kind of program here for water meters. There's a lot of benefits to the upgraded meter system. There's some customer benefits to it, but there's a lot of city operation benefits to it as well. We did bake in some of these estimates into the water rates for next year, anticipating the more what our recommended system is. There are other options out there. Like I said, this is the Cadillac, the premier meter system that we've built into the rates and that we're going to show you and recommend tonight. But there are other meter systems. They're not as functional and they don't have the robust kind of system that we're looking to get out of this system here. So with that, I will turn it over to Kirk Tews, and I will run the PowerPoint from my side, if that's okay.
Yeah, that works. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This is a project that's we've been working on this since February. This will be my 4th meter project. I worked on 3 other communities back in my contractor days. It's interesting to see the differences in the communities and what their needs are. And Sault Ste. Marie is no different. We're in need of meters, and so we've looked at this avenue and we'll present our findings this evening. So Like I said, the city of Sault Ste. Marie set on RFP for a meter vendor in February 2021. The goal was to find a meter vendor to provide the city with meters and a system that suits the needs of the city. 6 vendors replied. The city staff of Callie, the assistant treasurer, Alicia, the utility biller, Jeff Kilps, my master meter man, and myself met with these vendors and decided on a system that will benefit for the city for the next 20 years and possibly beyond. This presentation will show the vendor and the reasoning behind that decision. So the current status of our Sioux meters, our age is approaching. Most meters have a lifespan of 20 years. We are nearing that 20-year mark. The last meter upgrade started in 2003 and was completed in 2006. So we're nearing that 20-year mark. As we know, mechanical meters lose accuracy over time. This accuracy affects how we bill. And then, of course, the accountability is a huge one. We'll show that on the next slide. Here is a graph of the last 17 fiscal years for the city of Sault Ste. Marie, showing the total production, which is the blue line, and the total consumption, which is billed, which is the red line. The average loss during this period of time is 33%. The national average is 16%, so we're almost double where we should be. New metering technology can create an achievable goal of 15% or less, and some places can even get 10% or less. I don't know if that's possible in our community. We have a lot of old water mains, but it would be interesting to see if we can get to that point. As you can see on this chart, back in 2002, before the last meter project, our accountability was at a 43%. And then as they replaced meters, it dropped down to 29%. And then it's crept up a little bit over the last 5-6 years to that 32-33%. There's a couple of outliers on there. You see some peaks in there. The blue line goes up. And that's due to cold winters and let runs that we don't bill for. That's the less production means less revenue to operate on. The need to account for every gallon will grow increasingly important in our future as we fund some of the improvement projects that the water and wastewater facilities will need going forward. So as we said that today 25 to 50% of all distributed water globally is lost, never invoiced. It's called non-revenue water. The city currently fits this trend at an average of 33%. There are some EPA programs and even some state programs that have been out there. The last one was under Governor Snyder to bring these accountabilities back together. They want us to see us shrink that 33%. They want to see us down there around that 10% number. Here's a tool that the AWWA uses, which is the American Water Works Association. This is a standard water balance chart. And this just kind of shows how your water is spread out throughout your system. So it starts out with your system input, and you have your authorized consumptions, and then you have your water losses. And it goes through, and your revenue water makes up a very small portion of it, where your non-revenue water makes a very large portion of that. And that's what we're trying to accomplish, is to shrink that non-revenue water down. So you're done. So the recap of the 3 components of non-revenue water is the unauthorized billing consumption, which is water used for water main flushing, main breaks, firefighting, and water provided for free for certain consumer groups. The apparent loss is also termed commercial losses, which are caused by inaccurate meting, data handling errors, and illegal tapping. And the real losses are also the physical losses, which those are your leaks, your system overflows. Real losses are caused by poor operations and maintenance and poor quality of underground assets. Some of those physical losses we can overcome just by making some operational changes at the water plant and the distribution system so that we can track those losses better. So this is where the smart meters come in. Smart meters can do more than just record a number. The technology of a smart meter has increased from what I've seen in just the last few years. My oldest project I did, we installed just a simple radio read device. And we're now moving forward. These meters can tell us new things, new alarms. They can acoustically listen for leaks. They can correctly size themselves for usage. So we don't put in a 2-inch meter in a commercial business. It only needs an inch meter. And the biggest selling point on these meters is it monitors the ambient air and water temperatures. And what I found in Sault Ste. Marie, my first winter up here, is that is a very important thing. We had a very mild winter, but we still had some let runs and some freezing. And these meters can tell us where that's going to happen. And that's huge for a northern community to be able to detect before it happens. We can prevent freeze ups, we can prevent busted meters, frozen water lines thawed, which reduces staff time out in the field. And it also better protects our residents. They don't have to worry about going a night without water because it's frozen, we couldn't get it thawed. We don't know when it can get it thawed sometimes. Down on the bottom, I have that asterisk, acoustically monitored for leak detection. And that's something that I was looking forward to do in the next few years, is to hire a contractor. And the initial cost that I got back for some of these companies was upwards of $25,000 a year and more to come and detect leaks on an annual basis. These new meters have the ability to listen for system leaks based upon frequency. And the cost of that is well shy of $25,000 a year. So it kind of makes economical sense that we can use this technology to help our aging infrastructure and find leaks where we don't know where leaks are at. And that will definitely reduce our non-revenue water sources. And then smart meters will increase customer service. We're going to get real-time meter reads out of this at any time. Right now, we have one individual that reads meters on 2 cycles, and it takes him anywhere from 15 to 20 days to read all the meters. And so while we try to get accurate meter reads, there's gaps in between them. They're not read on the same day. And it's hard to get a consensus of what is actually going on in our system. They're going to provide flow data to detect leaks. So with that real time, we can see if a meter is running continuously in a residential residence, that there's a leak there. And so we can notify that individual that, hey, you have a leak, it needs to be fixed. And so that'll cut down on some of our leak adjustments that we have. Real-time final reads is kind of big. That's where our meter man goes out the most on, is final reads and initial reads for people moving in and out to finalize bills. That eliminates truck rolls. When we'll be able to do that, we can just look that up and calculate a bill as needed. Some of the new technology coming out is the ability to send text messages and emails for these alarms. You can sign up for a service that if you're away from home and you have water usage, it'll send you an alarm. And so that you can have somebody go look at your property or even have us shut the water off to avoid damage at your property. There's the ability to project billing. These meters and the software keep track of usage and project out. And that'll help some low income residents that if they can see a bill as it goes out, they'll be better able to manage their money to afford to pay that bill on time. There's real-time water break detection. This will go with reversal of flows, and acoustic monitoring will show us where these main breaks are at, which eliminates response time. We had a main break back in March that took us all day to find, and actually the snowmobile groomer going down the trail behind Walmart, found a puddle of water, and we traced that up to where the water main was leaking a half a mile away from where that trail was at. So that's a very useful tool. Detecting usage after shutoff. We do have some people out there that when we shut them off for non-payment, have the ability to turn the water back on. These meters will show us that, and so that we can clamp down on that portion of it. And then, as I mentioned before, that leak detection, that's going to become larger and larger as our infrastructure ages and ages. And to be able to find these things will save us money. So back to the AWWA water balance. After discussing those highlights, we can correct many of these non-revenues. And the one without the arrow is simply changing the way operators operate. So these smart meters can effectively reduce all points of non-revenue water in some form or another. This is a picture. These are pictures of our meters currently, the registers. We currently have census read meters, and that's the top with a dial, and the smaller dial is a leak indicator. The ones on the left are the flow IQ. They actually have a touch point on there that a homeowner can touch that meter, and it will change modes. So they can look at flow, they can look at their read, and they can look at any alarms that are present if there's any present. So the homeowner can take some responsibility in detecting their own leaks and flows. This is just a side profile of them, the brass meters that we currently have and the proposed meters that we're looking at. So why we chose Camstrip over the other companies? Like I said, we had 6 companies that come back on our proposal, and we looked through them pretty hard. We actually met with all of them. They all came to the Sault Ste. Marie and presented their meter to us and their system to us. And we chose Camstrip for a few reasons. It's an ultrasonic meter, which that's the current trend of technology. It gets the best measurement and the longest lifespan out there. This is one of the 2 companies that has a radio built into it, which eliminates 3 points of failure in our current system. Currently, we have our meter, we have a wire that goes up to a touch read or a radio point, and then we have the touch read and radio point. This spring, we are up to close to 100 meter wire repairs in our system. And so eliminating that 3 point of failure will cut down on staff time responding to that and gives us the ability to work on other things besides repairing meter wires. So Camstrip's been around since 1946. They've manufactured many types of meters, positive displacement, term, and multi-jet. In 1992, Camstrip stopped all manufacturing to focus on ultrasonic metering. So they are the industry leader in this ultrasonic solid state technology, which is pretty interesting. They also have the leading radio technology that broadcasts the power that the radio needs to send and receive data, which increases battery life, but it also reduces the RF pollution. And they're the only company out there that does that. Everybody else's radio will broadcast. It's kind of the analogy would be your car stereo. You have your car stereo on full blast all the time, and that's what's sending out. Well, Camstrip, the meters are smart enough to understand that, hey, I'm sitting right here. I don't need my car stereo at full blast. Let's turn that down to a comfortable level. And so that produces a better system out there. And then they're also the industry leading alerts on there. And here's the list of them. You know, they have a leak alert, a burst alert, a tamper, a dry alert, a reverse flow, low battery, and those high and low temperatures and overflow alerts. Camstrip, one of the big things about ultrasonic metering technology is they're silent. There are no moving parts, no more banging, ticking, knocking noises coming from the meters. We do get quite a few complaints on that. Some of you may or may not have experienced that, but ultrasonic, there are no moving parts, so they're silent. Camstrip meters are manufactured in Georgia. They're polymerized fiberglass resin. They're 100% recycler and they're lead free. And by purchasing of these meters, we actually join into a recycling program with Camstrup that when these meters, if they do go bad and die, or we have to dispose of them, we send those back to them and they dispose of them properly, which is, I think, a pretty neat program. Currently, the meters we do now, we have to take them back and separate them into the separate parts of cast, stainless, brass, and plastic to be recycled, and that does take some staff time to accomplish. So the next closest competitor was Master Meter. They have a wide variety of features, and they are a wireless ultrasonic meter, but they don't offer the same alarms. And that was something that just kind of turned us off, that we're looking to get the best benefit out of our system to benefit the city. And they're there, but they're not quite there. So that's why we didn't choose them. Census is our current vendor, and they have served the city well. Their technology is good. But to solve the problems that the city is currently facing, they just don't have the technology to provide us that. So we're eliminating them at this point in time. One of the other things that we're going to do is we're going to switch our readings from cubic feet to gallons. And this is something that a lot of communities do. This is kind of a definition of a cubic foot versus a gallon. And it's kind of hard to understand for some people in the water industry. We use the term synonymously. We use cubic feet for volume and density measurements, whereas in the real world, gallons are more recognizable. If I were to ask you what a cubic foot is, most of you probably could not explain it. If I ask you what a gallon is, you could tell me a gallon of milk. One of the big things here is people are going to think their water bills are going to go up. That's not true. We're going to keep the same rates. It's just calculated different. And so we have the rates down there that currently we charge $2.49 per 100 cubic foot. And that's going to show up on the bill as $3.33 per 1,000 gallons. So even though you think you're being charged more, that's not true. It's the same amount of volume. It just is a different way of calculating it. The reasoning behind gallons is it's just a more universal way to calculate. I produce water at the water plant, millions of gallons. It's nice to calculate water in gallons so we don't have those calculation errors that create non-revenue water. So here's some of the project costs that we're looking at. We're not finalized on this yet. This is just what come back in a rough form. We're looking at just over $2 million for the complete meter replacement for the whole city. And part of that, we were looking at return on investment. I worked with the Assistant Treasurer, Kelly Brosco, on this, and we come up with some numbers that we should be able to save somewhere in the range of $185,000 a year with this new technology. And we figured kind of light. Our Camstrup rep put it in there, and he put a lot larger numbers in there, and they expect a better return on investment, but we didn't want to sell it that way. We went with kind of the minimums just to see, we know it can solve these issues. And so these are those returns on investment. Master Meter was our next competitor. They come in at $1.6 million, the same thing. Their cost savings are up there as well. So this is the right solution for Sault Ste. Marie. Received all sorts of comments. The one that I liked the best was, why does Sault Ste. Marie need smart metering technology? Isn't this for a big city? In reality, this is an all community technology. Like I say, this will be my 4th project. My other 3 projects were much smaller communities around the 3,000 to 5,000. Some of the regional communities that are starting to use smart meter technology, Mackinac City, Calumet, Escanaba, and Marquette. Marquette actually uses Camstrup meters. They don't use the radio technology because they have their own water, power, and light software that they use for that. But they are happy with their meters. And so that's what we were kind of looking for, were some of those case studies. And Marquette is definitely happy. So what does the future hold? I like I say, regulations on water quality are constantly changing, becoming stricter. It's just the reality of thing with contamination growing more stringent, with water becoming more scarce and clean water becoming more scarce. It's going to come to a point that we have to become accountable for everything that we use. And that's where the smart metering technology comes in. It'll help us meet these goals going into the future. So moving forward, tonight we're just asking for commission approval on the proposed meter vendor. From there, the next commission meeting, we will bring forth a startup package to get moving on this equipment. And then we will also bring the financing for the complete project. We're looking at a 10-year loan financed out with the first payment deferred for 1 year. When we are working with Director Collins, this does fit into our budget quite nicely. So that's something we'll present if selected.
That's that, right, Kirk?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Kirk. So again, just to kind of wrap up, so we have a vendor that we're recommending going with. It's Camstrup. There's a lot of benefits to the system. It's going to make it completely a remote operated system. It's going to improve our efficiency by quite a bit. There's also a lot of regulatory items that are coming down the pipeline that these will help us deal with. Again, there's some customer benefits, but there's a lot more operational benefits for us. So with that, we would look to have the commission approve the project as presented with us going to Camstrup. As Kirk mentioned, we'll start to bring back some of the bigger pieces of this project for commission consideration at future meetings. We are kind of in this middle spot right now with some of our operation and maintenance funds, where if we start switching out meters and residences right now, we want to make sure we're switching them out to the preferred vendor that we'd be going with in the future. So with that, we'll take any discussion or questions or comments from the commission. Do I have all the commission members? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is Talentino still here?
Yeah. Yep, he's there.
Oh, sorry, you fell off my screen.
So any questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Talentino, anything?
I think this is actually a great idea. I think it's going to simplify it, going from cubic feet to gallons. I like that we don't have to worry about an estimated bill anymore. That used to drive me crazy. I think this will just simplify the whole thing. It's time, and I'm all for this. It's fantastic.
Thanks. Commissioner Twardy, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this also. It used to drive me crazy that we had a full-time employee who just drove around the city all the time, and I would see him at all my many different locations just checking the meters. So it'll save a lot of staff time. And again, the tick, tick, tick. I don't know if any of you have had your meter fail. You get to sit there and listen to the tick, tick, tick until they can come and fix it. So, and if we are losing water on a regular basis, and this is going to prevent that, then it's a great thing for all the users.
Commissioner Boswas-Rath, any questions or comments?
Yeah, one question. How long would the turnaround be? I don't know if you said it and I might have missed it. Do we have
From start to finish for the project?
Yeah.
Kirk, would you say about a year?
Okay.
Yeah, once we sign on with HydroCorp, they actually they have a call center and they provide us with all the information and set up appointments, and they handle all that. It's part of the installation fee. If they can produce enough meters, it could be done within a year's time without a problem.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then just a couple comments. I too love this idea. I think it kind of puts us into this century. And, we do have a lot of snowbirds, and if that's a huge benefit, if that's going to warn people about their pipes, I think it's great. I'm absolutely for this.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Collins, any questions or comments?
All good. I agree with everybody. That way I don't have to repeat it.
Yeah.
I think we've gone through everybody. I just had a couple quick questions. How many meters do we have in the Sioux? And there's absolutely no cost, direct cost to the customer. I know it's built into the rate, correct? And will you be able to facilitate shutoffs for non-payment from the smart meter, or do you still have to go to the street and open up the hole?
Mr. Twos, you can take those.
Yeah, we still have to go out there and shut off. There is smart meter technology they're developing that has a valve built into it. They're not there yet, and I think it'll be a while. And there's a lot of other issues with that as well. You know, being able to turn people's water off remotely is kind of a foreign concept, but yeah.
And how many meters do we have, Kirk?
I was looking that up. We have around 5,000, just over 5,000 meters total in the system.
And there won't be
Yes.
any direct hookup cost for the individual meter holder, right?
No, this will all translate into, you know, rate increases and things like that as we go along.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Talentino, do you want to make a motion?
Sure, Your Honor. A motion to approve the projected concept as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Robin, can we do a roll call or a voice vote?
You can do a voice vote. You
No
can do
voice
a,
vote?
yep, voice.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Good job, Kirk. Thank you. Under G, business items number 2. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration are the results of a bid for the guardrail replacement and repair bid B-07-21. The commission may be aware, just driving around the city, there are certain areas where the guardrails have been hit a few times throughout the years. We have a bid coming back here from a company that will replace a good number of them, 5 locations throughout the city. The low bid came back at $10,889. So we would look for a motion to award the bid for the amount of $10,889.
Thank you, city manager. Any questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Collins, would you like to make this motion?
Motion to award the bid for guardrail replacement and repairs B0721 to G&J Site Solutions for $10,899 and authorize the city manager to execute contract for the work.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 3 under business items, city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next is for commission consideration is a request to approve the purchase of a reversible plate compactor for the water and sewer department. For those of you not familiar with what a reversible plate compactor is, it's just a fancy tamp that they use when they make repairs. So we would look for 2 motions on this particular item. Increase the capital budget by $3,000 and then a motion to award the bid for the device in the amount of $6,995.
Thank you very much, city manager. And they are now a local vendor, as I understand it, right up the road, even though the address was downstate. I think they have a location on Ashman, correct?
I'm not sure of that.
Is that them? Okay. All right. Regardless, Commissioner Twardy, did you want to make this motion?
Sure. The first motion is to increase the capital equipment budget by $3,000 with funding from the water equipment reserve.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bospis Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary.
Yes. Motion did pass unanimously. Thank you very much. Under business
Second.
items number
Wait,
4,
wait.
City manager.
There's a second.
Whoops, sorry, I'm sorry. That was the second one. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, motion to
Try to move
award,
it along.
motion to award a bid for a Toro RP 12,000 reversible plate compactor to AIS Construction for the amount of $6,995.
Support.
There's moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bospis Rath.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Now we'll move on to item 4 in the business items category. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is the request to enter into a professional services agreement with Smith Group Incorporated for the work at the Carbide Dock. Up until this point, Smith Group has served us for the design engineer. We are now past that point, and we would be looking for a contract with Smith Group for the construction side of the project. The grant pays for, I believe the grant pays for the majority of this work. So we would look for a motion to approve the contract for the amount of $645,690. Just as a point, after this contract is approved, we continue to work with Smith Group. The project itself is looking at it to be bid out during August and September, with some construction starting around September or October of this year. Obviously, the bulk of that work will be next year.
Thank you, City Manager, for that update as well. Let's go through the roll call. This is a big one to see if we have any questions or comments. So Commissioner Bospis Rath, any questions or comments?
No, it's a lot, but I have no comment or question.
All right, Commissioner Collins?
No questions, just comments. I mean, basically, when you look at it, they did the design phase, which was just over $700,000. This is the construction phase, which makes sense. And then it's completely funded by grants, and we've already established it with inside the budget. So I don't see any issues with it. And I'm just excited for them to get started on the work.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Talentino?
Mr. Collins hit all the talking points.
All right. Commissioner Twardy?
Ditto. He hit them all. I'm in favor.
All right. Commissioner Bospis Rath, would you like to make this big motion?
Absolutely. Motion to approve the contract amendment with Smith Group Incorporated for professional engineering services for the Carbide portion or port rehabilitation project in the amount of $645,690 and authorize the city manager to execute the amendment.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baskus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving forward, item 5, City Manager Chapman.
All right, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request for an extension on the LSSU Sea-Free Brownfield Project Eagle Grant. This request is coming from LSSU and the EDC. The current grant expires, or at least is supposed to have the work done by this July. With the approval of this particular request, the extension would be granted to 2022, which would allow them enough time to finish up their construction project. There's no additional financial commitment to any of this. It's just a paper thing that extends out the extension for 1 year. So we would look for a motion and support as presented.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments for the City Manager? Commissioner Collins, would you like to make the motion?
Certainly. Motion to approve a 1-year extension for the LSSU CFRE, what is it, EGLE? EGLE, Brownfield Grant. No, it doesn't look like Eagle. EGLE. Brownfield Grant through July 23rd, 2022, and approve Jeff Holt to execute the attached documents.
Support.
Government and their acronyms. Any questions or comments before we have a roll call vote? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baskus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 6, which is another EGLE item. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for consideration is a EGLE Brownfield Grant application for the MAC building project at 411 West Portage Avenue. The commission is aware that we brought a brownfield plan to you all a few meetings ago. With that funds some of the rehab work and the brownfield activities at the MAC building. The consultant for the developer did apply or wants to finalize the application for the grant to Eagle. There's been a pre-commitment made from Eagle for $850,000. With this large source of revenue coming into the project, we'll actually be able to decrease the TIF capture on that project. As a side note, we are working on updating the TIF plan and the capture amounts and all of those good numbers for the commission when we go to approve this. So this item is technically just approving the grant application going to EGLE for the brownfield grant worth $850,000. So we would look for a motion to approve the submittal final grant for the MAC building redevelopment.
City Manager, any questions or comments for the City Manager? I don't know if Commissioner Talentino, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. Mhm.
Okay.
Like me make
Would you
that
like to
motion?
make the motion?
Absolutely. Market rate housing, gotta love it. Motion to approve the submitted Eagle Brownfield Grant for the MAC building redevelopment.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baskus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously, and I'm officially out of room on my roll call list. That's the first time in a long time. So good meeting. Under
much.
item H, city manager announcements and updates.
We're
City
not done
Manager
yet.
Chapman,
I
looks
got
like you have
my
a long list.
whole section here, so hang in tight.
Yeah,
so-
you have a lot of stuff on there.
So just a few updates for the commission. We do have some staff members that are retiring and leaving the organization. Chief John Riley, Street Supervisor Eric Fountain, Parks Department Administrative Assistant Debbie Wallace. John and Debbie, they're both retiring. They've been here for a number of years with the city. They've both done incredible work, as had Eric. Eric has decided to go to the dark side and work in the private sector for a little bit there. So we wish all three of them the best of luck in the future. We're certainly going to miss them and the work they've done here. So the next staff member to be recognized is Jessica McLean. She is our deputy assessor in the assessing office. She has recently passed her next level of certification. I believe this would make her just about able to be a full assessor by herself for the city. Right now she works under Tina Fuller, but this is a lot of work to be an assessor and go through these processes, and the certification is a lot of time and a lot of effort. So her being able to pass the tests and earn the certification is definitely a test of the amount of work that she has put into that. So we're incredibly happy for that. A couple of recruitments that we have going on right now. We did interview an individual for a new building official. Some of you know Steve Aiken is planning on retiring this summer. So we had one interview last week, 2 weeks ago. A good candidate. We're finalizing that process with him now. We do have an open recruitment for a director of public services right now. That is a merging of two department head positions. One in the Parks Department after Dan Wires retires, and then with street supervisor Eric Fountain leaving, we're merging that position into one as we move forward there. So that recruitment wraps up at the end of this week. Hopefully we have good applications and we get the interviews done and make a hire here pretty soon. A couple of projects for you all to be updated on. Downtown Access and Placemaking Project. If you haven't noticed, the project is moving full steam today. They were down on North Court Street, tearing up and starting to do all that fun work. Again, if you have any complaints or any citizen requests coming in during that time, make sure to get them to myself or Dave Boyle in the engineering office to address. Power Canal Project, that's one that people have been asking me about again. That one is still slated for the summer. We are just waiting for the time to schedule it with the contractor. I believe in talking to staff that pre-construction meeting is supposed to happen this week or next week. So that one is still moving forward. The first phase of the Power Canal will be done by the end of the summer, early fall. Just as a report for some of you late night people that didn't get up early in the morning to go have breakfast with us, the citywide cleanup was this past weekend. Weather was beautiful. They had about 80 to 90 volunteers. They gave out a good amount of gift cards. They received some donation money there. But most importantly, they put in a lot of time and really did a great thing for the city in cleaning up a lot of that garbage. And the impact that they did for the city is just fantastic. So we certainly want to thank Mary Jo Duvall and everybody that came out for that event and really put in the time to clean up the city. So forever grateful to those individuals. Couple of things that I want to get done with you guys moving into the next couple of months here. I would like to schedule a workshop with all of you regarding tax incentives and tax abatements. There's a whole menu of options that we can offer to developers if they want to do a project within the city. Similar to the brownfield that we've been recently talking about last couple of months. There's neighborhood enhancement zones, there's housing development projects, there's all sorts of stuff, which is good on the face value, but there are some financial considerations the commission needs to be aware of, as well as some direction that we need from the commission in terms of what's your appetite for these types of projects. There's a lot of discussion and some debate that goes on with these items. Right now, we're trying to figure out the process and a policy so that staff is all on the same page as we move forward. But part of that is going to be getting some feedback from the commission on what it is that you would like us to do, and what's your appetite for tax incentives, tax abatements, and all that. Because again, there are some financial, in one side, you're getting a nice new development, but on the flip side, there could be a chance that you're taking money out of one pocket and putting it into another one, not to a private individual, but from one fund to the other one, and you may be creating some kind of financial impact. So we just want to have that discussion with the commission. I'm looking at possibly the second meeting in July, if that kind of works for everyone. Tim, I know you work till 6 though, right? And you're clocked out at 6. Doesn't necessarily mean you're off the boat at 6:30, right?
Yeah, I'm at the house by 6:30, but we'll work around it.
Okay. Maybe we'll do it a different day, but that week of the second meeting, is everybody in town? Will that work for everyone? A couple of you guys are frozen. All right, so I will schedule. What's that?
July 6th? You looking for July 6th? Is that what you're talking about?
That week? No, the second.
Second weekend in July?
Third week, sorry.
It's the second. Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be the week of the 19th. So we'll schedule something at that time.
Works for me.
All right, perfect. We will get
Yeah,
that
why don't we
scheduled.
poll everybody? I don't have my calendar
Okay.
open.
I'll have Sue send out an email in the morning. She can get with you guys. Just as a reminder, because I would screw this up, so it's more of a reminder for myself. The first July commission meeting is Tuesday, July 6th. Monday is the 5th, which is a holiday because July 4th is on a Sunday. So just make sure you're aware of that. The meeting is on Tuesday that week. And then just as a reminder, I will be out of the office May 27th and 28th, as well as June 11th and 14th. And that is all I have for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments for the City Manager? I would like to, on behalf of the City Commission, certainly extend our congratulations and thanks to Police Chief John Riley, Street Supervisor Eric Fountain, and Parks Department Deb Wallace on their future activities. I know Eric's going to another employer, but certainly Deb and John have been very dedicated to the city of Sault Ste. Marie and will deserve their retirement. I think Commissioner Twardy and I were on the commission when we hired Chief Riley, and certainly has been there and done some great things. And certainly I appreciate all law enforcement officers, especially right now in this volatile time, but appreciate everything he's done for the police department and for the city. And we appreciate all of the work that Deb Wallace has done as well. So city service, I think a previous city manager used to say it's a lifestyle choice because it is very demanding and it takes up a lot of your time, and it takes a lot of your time away from family. So certainly all the people that work in the city do make that choice, and it is very involved employment. So we appreciate all staff, but especially the retirees. So any other questions or comments for the city manager? All right, we will move on. City manager, I think you already touched on number 2, or did you have another?
Is there number 2?
Deputy
yes.
assessors.
Yes,
well,
yes.
it has the assessors.
Yeah, that was
And,
part of
congratulations to Jessica. All right. Congratulations to Jessica on attaining that level. I think that's excellent, and furthering her education, and congratulations. Moving on to J, items, matters presented, or excuse me, I, matters presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments? I know that Josh Billington had said he would like to. So Josh, and we know that you live in the wonderful city of Sault Ste. Marie, so welcome to the meeting.
I do.
It's a little
Thank you,
earlier
Mayor.
than 10.
I know, and I'll be very brief, but I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor and Commissioners and City Manager. One of the things that I wanted to bring up was in line with Mr. Chapman's talk of understanding development opportunities and putting together packages for developers to entice them to invest in our city. And one of the things that also ties into the Oprah that you approved for Justin Nepper earlier today. One of the issues that we have that we've had for a bit in regard to special programs through MEDC, like the CRP program, they require a community match of some sort. And one of the things that you can use for a community match, obviously, is an Oprah or a TIF. But when you're dealing with an old, rickety, falling apart building that you want to improve upon, that isn't necessarily going to increase the square footage, does not leave much room to increase the TIF, because as you know, the way we do our tax assessment here is that your taxes go up by inflation, but also if there's an additional square footage to it. That's why, you know, it's kind of a big deal when you build a deck on your house, because that actually increases a little bit of the square footage. So when you're dealing with a lot of the buildings that we have, they, you know, they're not going to increase in TIF. Therefore, there's not much of an incentive for an MEDC package. So what we've been talking about quite a lot at the, obviously at the SBDC, is the American Recovery Plan Act funding that municipalities and counties will be receiving. Actually, last week and next week, I think, or this week and next week is when you'll be getting your 1.33 million for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. I would like to very strongly have the commission consider designating an apportioned amount of money to be used to help with local development. In other words, say out of the 1.33, you designate $500,000 and use that in $20,000 increments to support development projects in the downtown that will count as community involvement in these MEDC programs, if that makes sense. And, you know, I'd strongly consider you putting it under Mr. Freeman's office, because it would be a citywide process. So I just wanted to put that in front of you to have you think about it. I know that's coming down the pike, and it's not often you get a bump of change like that from the feds, and to spend it wisely and, you know, hopefully increase the investment in the city would be a prudent thing to do. So thank you so much for the time. And also, I would be more than happy to volunteer as a citizen to help build out a program if that's something that you decide to do. So thank you again, and have a good evening.
All right, thanks very much, Josh, and appreciate your comments. And I know you keep your nose to the grindstone there. I was in a meeting last week with the Michigan Municipal League, who is our lobbying group, and they, federal government and state government, as you know, just published 150 to 200 page rules on that, and they're talking about distributing over the next couple of years 2 installment payments. So certainly the rules need to be deciphered. So certainly there's some time, and will be quite a task of trying to get through all that information. So thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to make any comments before the commission?
Muted yourself, Don.
Oh, sorry. Is there anybody else that would like to make any comments before the city commission?
Yeah, would I be able to speak as an employee for the city?
Yeah, sure. And just give us your name and residence, please.
Yeah, my name's
For the
Andy
record.
Morrison. I'm a lieutenant with the fire department. My residence currently is 125 Ridge
Thanks,
Street
Andy.
at the fire department.
There. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right, I'll put my video on so you can see my mug. I had a couple questions. Of course, we're going to discuss some fire department stuff. I guess what we have been basically made aware of is that this was a hiring freeze. I didn't hear any commissioners say the word freeze. I didn't hear anyone say freeze. What I heard was eliminating positions in the hopes that eventually someday, if we have the money, we would be able to return to these positions. And I guess my question is that how the commission feels that this is a permanent thing or a freeze? Because a freeze tells me in the next budget, we would be getting these positions back. Anyone have a comment on that, or?
Andy, it is what we discussed. It's a freeze.
Thanks, city manager.
Uh,
Could you hear him, Andy?
I heard him. I guess I just don't understand what that word means. I didn't hear a commissioner use the word freeze. And maybe I'm the one confused here. Can anyone assist or no?
So if the city manager has told you and told us that it was a freeze, he's the one that presents the budget to us, and we approved it. So it would, city manager just said it was a freeze. So I guess the semantics are it's a freeze.
Okay, well, that helps. And you also mentioned
Yep.
The commissioners have work sessions working on the budget. Was there a representative from the fire department in these work sessions?
They were open meetings. I can't recall, Brian, can you, if there was anybody from the fire department there?
There was a few people on there. I'm not sure of all the names. I can't tell you if there was anybody on there or not.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you, Andy, for your service. Anybody else have any comments or questions before the commission? All right, moving on to item J, which is matters presented by the city commission, city commissioners. Anybody have anything to discuss? I don't know if it's just me, but my screen is frozen up.
I do. I don't know if you can
So
see me.
chime right in if any of you have anything to discuss.
Can you hear me, Mayor? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to let everybody know in case they didn't, they haven't been to Rotary Park, but the kayak ramps are in, so that's super exciting. So the weather is awesome. Get out on the water.
Good comment. Thank you very much. It was great to see them in. Great to see the fish cleaning station open, all the bathrooms open. So I think we're going to have a fantastic summer in Sault Ste. Marie. All indications are from the projections from the Tourist Bureau and some of the other areas that people are going to travel and travel close. And so I think we should benefit a great deal from that. Anybody else? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?